Hello, I'm Frank McSheen with Square Peg Consulting at the Whiteboard. I'm a supply chain cash guide, and these are the components of the business-to-business supply chain as I see it. And there are opportunities to generate more cash in every part of this process. Let me show you what I mean. Hello. This session, moving our focus from cost reduction to cash generation, going to focus on an element of the people and teams part of our supply chain framework. And it's really a story based on a client I worked with a number of years ago. They were one of the biggest Hardee's franchisees in the country. And at the time, they were having a hell of a time holding on to restaurant managers. They had 200 stores. They had the licenses in North Carolina and Virginia to get to about 500 stores. They couldn't grow because they couldn't hang on to restaurant managers. And so when we went to talk to them and asked them, what is it you're looking for in restaurant managers? The two owners, they were brothers, the two owners told us they wanted independent, decisive, entrepreneurial types like themselves to run these stores. And so we took that information. We took the tool called the predictive index, which I work with to examine job requirements compared to people traits. And we did a study of all the 200 restaurant managers that they had to figure out what was the success profile for those based on a number of measures. First was seniority. So we're trying to find who comes and stays with the business. Next was food and paper costs. So managing costs of the materials in the store. Next was payroll costs. So managing the crews, keeping people, reducing turnover, etc. And then inventory, accuracy, levels, etc. So we looked at all the personality profiles of all 200 managers in existence at the time and ranked them based on these criteria. And what we found was, in the predictive index measures 4 different traits. One is the level of independence. On the high side, on the low side, it's more collaboration. Extroversion versus being more reserved. Patience versus more driving, sense of urgency. Careful, cautious, formal, by the book versus flexible, close counts kind of people. And what we found was that in the study, there was a range of independence level that was not really statistically significant. The little more independence was helpful on this side. Typically a little small range of extroversion versus introversion. The more extroverted people did better on payroll costs, the more introverted people did better on the food and paper costs, more analytical, etc. Kind of made sense. But there were 2 traits that came out very statistically significant. And that was a driving, proactive sense of urgency. Because if you've been in a fast food restaurant at lunch or dinner, you're either ahead or you're behind. There's no keeping up. You got to be in front of things. And then the last one that was extremely significant was a strong drive for formality, for following structure, processes, procedures, taking the book, the plan, the going by the book of a franchise. And that was the one, those 2 really surprised them, but particularly this piece. So we ended up with a profile somewhat like this, kind of anything around average on independence and extroversion would be fine. But these 2 traits here were statistically significant in the bet the farm range of significance. And so their HR executive was pretty astute at the time, and he said, those 2 traits, sense of urgency, going by the book, remind me a lot of non-commissioned military. And everybody's eyes lit up, and they said, yeah, you're right. That sounds like, drill sergeants, master sergeants, first sergeants, etc., in the military. And so they went down to Fayetteville, North Carolina, where all the military bases are in that area, and they started recruiting retiring non-coms, not officers, no thank you, but retiring non-coms who are coming out with 20 years in the service, 38 years old, going by the book, getting other people to follow orders, leading teams, etc. And now they're looking for what's the next thing to do. And they're looking for something structured, something that they can follow like they had been in the services. And so the recruiters are saying, well, we got a building, we got a squad, and we got a book that we can teach you everything you need to know to run a restaurant. And those people started signing up left and right and loved the environment that they got into. And turnover dropped off the cliff. They got back on their growth plan and were able to fulfill that potential. So even though you think what you want is like yourself, sometimes that's what the owners were wanting, traits like themselves, you got to think through what does the work really require. And in the franchise world, there's already a plan. It's already established. Everything's already figured out. How long to cook the french fries at what temperature is already decided. So we need somebody who's going to execute the plan. They're going to be proactive about keeping in front of things, keeping some pressure on the crew, responding to requests and time requirements, and really just focus on good execution. And that's what they found was be successful. Thank you.